So you own a remodeling business and you want to get off the tools to grow the business to make those passive millions. And lucky for you guys, I've helped over 32 residential general contractors scale past multiple seven figures. And today I'm revealing the secrets that none of the gurus want you to know. But why? I mean, well, it's pretty simple. 96% of contractors like you are going to fail in a 10-year period. It's the sad truth, but it's my mission to get you the top 4%. And it starts with making real money with the business that you have. So today we're not talking about making pennies. We're not talking about some little side hustle you saw on Instagram or Gary V's TikTok. We're breaking down how to make legit cash. So let's dive in. And so step one is eliminating the mistake. And so let's step back a minute. The most common way I see a remodeling business in the 96% lose a ton of money is either they are not doing design at all and they're just selling a rinky-dink $500 estimate, or they are doing design and they're offering a firm fixed price contract on the design and locking themselves into the exposure to unlimited revisions. And so they may end up trying to target 4-6% of the build contract for the design contract, but in reality, they spend double that just producing the design. It's a crazy, crazy leak in profit. And the thing is, when you do it that way, when you're selling a rinky-dink $500 design or a tiny little design, firm fixed price design contract, number one, you're exposing yourself to losing a ton of money. For example, in the estimate, it's like, when have you've spent less than 10 hours putting together a detailed estimate for a structural kitchen or an addition? Like never. It takes like 40 hours, right? But at $500 an hour, you're valuing your time at $15 to $25 an hour. And when there's only 2,000 working hours in a year for you personally, and you're stuck basically being a professional charitable estimator, I mean, how many times have you put 40 hours into a bid just for the homeowner to say, thank you for the detail, but we're going in a different direction? You want to know why? Because you got backboarded. She took your detailed estimate. You did the homework for the other guy who all he had to do was just, be a little bit less than you. Thus we play the contractor games. And so when you're providing essentially all that free work up front, or worse, let's say you get smart and you start selling a design contract, but the thing is, you don't lock in how you pay your team with how you collect from the client. You're the one at risk for when the client inevitably, we call it Karen's carousel, when she jumps on that carousel and goes round and round and round, changing her mind, repricing the job, changing the scope. We've all seen it. And so next thing you know, she's burned up double the design hours that you initially estimated, and you're the one paying for it. And so that hurts you twice. Number one, in the lost profit on the job, but also two, that's time that your design team could have been working on another profitable project. So you lose twice when you do it that way. So there are 3 steps that you can do right now that if you're in that 96% to fix this problem. And that is, number one, go to a lawyer and restructure your design agreement as a retainer. Number two, go recruit a 1099 designer and figure out what a billable hourly rate they need for it to be worth their time to partner with you. And then number 3, study your market to see what architects are charging per hour and undercut them by a little. For example, now really you should swap steps 2 and 3, but whatever, we'll just roll with it. So the thing is, let's say you're in Durham, North Carolina. You can get away with charging $200 an hour on your retainers in your estimates. And then a really good designer, 1099, is going to cost you somewhere between $100 and $150 an hour. We'll go with $150 an hour. And before all y'all say, oh, wait, no professional is ever going to link their pay to their time, they will if you negotiate the deal right and you guarantee, and so on a project by project basis, you have them declare what the minimum pay they need to do the job. And then you say, okay, right, we're going to bill against that at $100 an hour. And as soon as we've burned up all those hours, I start paying you extra. So you, the designer, make more than you thought you would have. I just need you to do two things. Number one, give me an hourly rate below 150. And two, every other week, give an accounting of the time you've spent on the project and what you accomplished, so we can pass that along to the customer and adjust their retainer. Make sense? Makes sense. So you then you go and you study the market to see what the architects are doing. But let's back up to the example with Durham. I'd be charging, I don't know, 200 an hour, and I'd be paying 150. Okay. So now we get to step two, which is getting things right. So now we're on the right track. We have an idea of what we're going to do. We know we need to research the architects. We need to find some independent designers, independent architects to work with. This retainer model is the absolute best option I've ever seen. And the reason why is, number one, you're getting paid to put together a detailed estimate. For example, a typical retainer for me on a $100,000 kitchen would be about $8,000, separate from the $100,000 kitchen. And on that $8,000, I would collect, I'd be paying 150 an hour, collecting 200 an hour. That's 25%. So on that retainer, that 8,000, I've collected $2,000. Now, what did it cost me to acquire that $2,000? Well, about 10 leads. And how much does the average lead cost me when you really break it down? About $50. So I'm trading $50 for a guaranteed minimum $2,000 of profit net without me having to do anything. And so ask yourself, would you rather charge $500 for an estimate on a set of plans that you can't control the quality on, that's going to be inaccurate, insufficient, and incomplete, that you're going to have to fix and build anyway? Or would you rather make $2,000 knowing that the design's going to be airtight and you can take your time and trust your takeoffs? I mean, simple decision. And so here's 3 action steps that you can apply this tip and grow profits right now in your business. So you've got your contract set up. What I would do, step 1, go to Google and type interior designer near me. Step 2, I want you to go to their contact us, and I want you to say this message. Hey, my name is Lane from nsshome.co. We're a local boutique design build general contractor. I have a number of clients coming up that are going to need a professional design on the back end of a big media blitz of mine. Would you be opposed to meeting for coffee and talking about how we can merge our 2 processes together and joint venture on these clients? Step 3, take the coffee meeting. And guess what? Instead of you, like every other Oliver Twist contractor with your hand out, like, please, may I have a contract? You're coming to the table with value, saying, look, I have business coming forward, whether it's true or not. We'll get to that in another video. And and this is my process. Let's merge that with yours. So now they are going to be justifying why you should do, but they're going to be selling you instead of you selling them. So much stronger. Who do you think the designer is going to be more likely to refer their internal business to? The Oliver Twist contractor begging for work, or you coming in there with value, like, hey, I have a process and I have leads. Let's work together. Okay. And so these are the kind of, once you make that switch, these are the kind of results that I've seen. I've used this example over and over and over again. But take Kyle Bridgen from NSS Home in Tacoma, Washington. When he started, he was about $350,000 in the hole after really screwing up a commercial bid that cost him dearly. So he was paying, on a $350K merchant cash advance. I'm sure the interest on that was like 60%, but neither here nor there. So we made this one little twist, right? And so what did he end up doing? He went out and he sold a $500K block of build work into design. And that design process takes 3 to 4 months. And so on that $500K, he collected over $40,000, of which $10,000 was gross profit. What did he spend to acquire that work? He spent less than $2,000. right? So he flipped 2 grand into 10 grand gross profit immediately. He put that work into design where he's the only one bidding it, nobody else is. So, and then he converted every single one of those contracts into build at day 120, right? So at call it day 0, he started the ad spend. 30 days later, he collected 40 grand of gross profit. I'm sorry, 10 grand of gross profit on over 40 grand of design retainer. But day 150, he put those jobs into build, collecting 50% up front and making a 40% gross margin. 500K times 50% is 250 times 40% gross. So he had a 100K profit position by day 150, right? And back up, 90 days prior, he collected 10 grand up front. And so what he did there was that back at day 30, he took that 100 grand, I'm sorry, that 10 grand, my bad, I'm getting my stuff mixed up, but he took the gross profit off the design agreement, that 10 G's. And instead of paying debt with it, instead of going on a vacation, instead of buying a truck because I deserve it, or taking some time off because I'm tired, I'm grinding, he took that 10 G's, put it back into his advertising as a free roll because that's profit, it's free money. So his second cohort, 4 months later, was 1.6 million, right? And he's been doing that 1.6 every 4 months since. And so that's how he went from 1.5 million with a 350K debt to selling over $4 million a year into design, was simply with this process. This is how you get out of trouble, guys. This is how you build. And the crazy thing is, he sent me a text on those jobs that he put into build last June. They're all finally getting final job costed, and his grippage was negative. It was negative 1%. In other words, his jobs were outperforming his estimated profit by a full revenue percent. That's 10% extra more profit than was estimated. Your average contractor has 6% slippage, meaning the job comes in 6 full revenue points less profitable than estimated. When you're shooting for a 10% net or a 20% net, those are big freaking swings. So again, guys, I'm telling you right now, there's multiple hidden benefits to selling a design retainer as opposed to a firm fixed price design contract, as opposed to a shitty Shinfu $500 estimate, right? Number one, you eliminate your slippage. And number two, you get free money, free net profit that you didn't have to put any time or work against in the form of your markup that you then reinvest back into your marketing and 4x your business overnight. So that brings me to my single best piece of advice for keeping up the momentum and continuing to grow profits in the future is, number one, it's sell a design retainer and structure that retainer. It depends. If the job is more than 250K, I like charging 4 to 6% of the estimated build. If it's under 250K, I like to charge 8 to 10%. And then my hourly retainer, my hourly pay or billable hour, I like to set below an architect, just below an architect in your area. So if you're in a town like Durham or Dallas or like a big metro, a wealthy area, you could probably get 200 an hour. If you're in, let's say, I don't know, Springfield, Missouri, probably closer to 150. But again, your designers will be cheaper. So what it really comes down to is making sure you're getting a 25% gross spread between your billable hour and your payable hour. And how this compares to contractors in the 96%. Contractors in the 96% will do one of two things. They'll either A, sell a $500 Shinfu estimate thinking they're stroking it. Then they'll put, 20 to 40 hours into that, or 10 to 40 hours into that estimate. And they might win, if they're discounting themselves, 40% of their work. They might win 30% of those jobs if they're not discounting their work. The point is, you're valuing your time at $20 an hour. That's a $40,000 a year employee. When you have six-figure ambitions, it's a math problem why you are stuck. Okay. Or the other guys in the 96%, what they do is they the next level from there is realizing, wait a minute, I need to sell a design agreement. So what those guys do is they go hire an in-house designer and they pay them, a salary or worse, hourly, and they turn around and sell a firm fixed design contract price, and they never seem to be able to hit their productivity targets to turn a profit on those design agreements. And so design, instead of being a profit center for them, is another big giant cost center. Like, when I was COO at CQC, we were losing about 8 revenue points. I'm sorry, that's probably exaggerating. More like 5 to 6 revenue points in design because of Karen's carousel. And so the actions you can take right now, the successful guys, what happens at that point is, number one, having a designer does not make you a design build company. Your business process makes you a design build company. So what the successful contractors do differently is twofold. Number one, they use 1099 independent designers and architects. Why? Because just like in the trades, in design, if you're good at what you do, you work for yourself. And until you get above 5 million in sales, you don't have enough gross profit to afford a true A player to make them an offer where it's better to work for you than to work for themselves. Okay, so that's number one. And number two is the other benefit of using a 1099 design or independent designer is the referral potential. So you're referring them work, they're referring you work back. When's the last time a W-2 designer has ever brought in business? At CQC, I did not see it at all, right? Because they're not paid to do that. So maybe you could make an argument and say, well, Lane, I'll compensate them to do that. And so then my question to you is, what do you want them to do? Do you want them to be selling for you, or do you want them to be designing for you? Because those are two different functions. So stick with the independent designers. It's all about process, not org chart, right? And W-2 labor, guys, is 100% risk, because you have to pay them whether they perform or not until you fire them, or whether or not business comes in. So stick with the independent, 1099s. The other thing that the successful contractors do that are not in the 96% is that they structure their design agreements as a retainer, just like a law firm, not a firm fixed price. That way it's impossible for you to get clipped. And we know what your minimum profit is going to be on that contract, right? So that's my biggest piece of advice here is really twofold. To avoid becoming one of the 96% who fail every 10 years. Number one, sell a design agreement as a retainer, like a lawyer. And then number two, negotiate a 1099 designer at an hourly bill or payable rate, at least 25% below your billable. Meaning, if you're charging 200, the most you can pay is 150. You do that, you're going to make design into a crazy profit center that if you're smart, you'll invest those design profits back into marketing to grow your business. And so that's how you actually make money in this business, guys. So get out there, get to work, and let's go make some real damn money. And if you've enjoyed this video, you're definitely going to see the only guide to the remodeling business you'll ever need. All right, see ya.